Welcome, guys. I have some ingredients that I need to go ahead and cook up so that they don't go bad while I'm out of town. So I'm going to be making potatoes and cabbage with my ingredients that I have here before me. So I got potatoes, onions, some of my remaining bag of my collard greens, and a cabbage. So I'm going to cut everything up and get that started cooking on the stove. Hey guys, I have some ingredients here that I need to get cooked up before I go out of town so that they don't go bad. So I have some sweet potatoes, a butternut squash, and an acorn squash, and I'm going to wash them and get them prepared for roasting in the oven. I'll be back. All right, for my cabbage and onions, I have a big pot here on the stove, and I'm going to get my coconut oil melted. It's about 2 heaping tablespoons of coconut oil in there. I'm going to get that started melting and start adding my ingredients. Okay, I have my coconut oil getting melted. Now I'm going to add in my potatoes first and get them started. I have rinsed my potatoes and chopped. Of course, the skins are still on there. I'm going to stir that around. A good stir. And I'm going to add seasoning as I build on this. So I'm going to give those potatoes some salt and pepper. Alright, let those cook for a few minutes while I get my onions and my cabbage cut up. Alright, next I'm adding in my onions. And my cabbage. Now I'm going to add in more salt and pepper. A generous amount. There's a lot of ingredients in this pot. Mix it just a little bit. And then I'm going to add in my collard greens at the top of this. Okay, I've added my collard greens and they're at the top. I'm not going to add any more seasoning right now on top of this. I think greens have a huge flavor on their own and I love it. And I'm going to put my lid on and just start the cooking process and let this cook down before I stir. I'll be back. I've washed everything really well. Now I'm going to go ahead and get things cut up and ready to put into the oven. I'm preparing my baking sheets to put my vegetables on, and I'm going to give a good drizzle of olive oil on my baking sheet. And first I have my sweet potatoes cut up. I did skin them, so I'm reserving my skins because, as you've seen in one of my videos before, I like to make the crispy skin sweet potato crunchies. And there they are in a baggie that I will put in the freezer. So far I have my sweet potatoes on my baking sheet. I've drizzled with my olive oil on the pan and sprinkled my sweet potatoes with smoked paprika and some salt and just tossed everything around in the olive oil that I already had on my pan. These will take longer to cook than my acorn squash and my butternut squash, so I'm going to pop these in the oven in this pan, and then I'll set my other stuff on the other pan. Alright, here we go. So I have them in the oven getting started, and I put my oven at 375. I'm going to let them start the roasting while I work on getting my other vegetables ready. I'm going to get started on my butternut squash. I've cut it in half, and I'm just going to peel the exterior and then start putting it into cubes. Now on my round piece, I will have to get in there and get the seeds out once I get to that. I've peeled and gotten the seeds out of my butternut squash. Now I'm going to start working on my acorn squash. I've added my butternut squash to the pan with some olive oil. And next is the acorn squash. So I've de-seeded my acorn squash, cut it in half. I'm going to be placing my acorn squash face down on the pan so that the steam can cook the inside of the acorn squash. And it will be done around the same time that my butternut squash is finished roasting. I'm going to add that to the pan. I've added my acorn and butternut squash to the pan. I'm not adding any salt or seasoning to this because I'm going to incorporate this into different ingredients. So my acorn squash that's cut in half, I like to use that for a yogurt granola bowl. Super delicious and nutritious. And of course my butternut squash, you can use this for anything. I probably will add this as a side dish to a meal. And I also like to incorporate butternut squash in my frittatas. It brings huge flavor, super good for you as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get that now in the oven. Again, I have my oven at 375. I've had my sweet potato in there roasting already. And I just wanted to add this to a separate pan because I'm cooking it differently than my sweet potato. Alright, and it doesn't take as long as the sweet potato as well. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and get that in the oven. There it is, guys. Recap. I have my sweet potatoes roasting with some olive oil, smoked paprika and salt on the bottom rack. And I have my acorn squash just cut in half, seeds removed and placed on the pan, open side down just to steam and cook it, and my butternut squash cut up, and I just have it on olive oil, guys. No seasoning on that squash tray because I want to incorporate it into other things. I'm just trying to get it cooked up so it doesn't go bad while I am out of town. Alright, so we'll be checking on this soon. 375 in the oven, working its magic. And I'm checking on my potatoes and my cabbage and my greens and onions. It's cooking down, so it's time to mix it up. When I mix it well, I'm going to also add just a little bit more of my salt and pepper to the mix. It smells so good. And so good for you. Alright, and you can do anything with this, guys. You can eat it as it is. You can make it into a soup. Alright, anything goes. Delicious and nutritious. I'm going to put the lid back on it and let it work its magic. See you soon. Everything is finished. So I have my pot of potatoes, cabbage, and onions and collard greens completely finished. Nice and tender. Yeah, a lot of steam coming out of there. Fogging up my camera. Alright, and my sweet potatoes, good and roasted. I seasoned with smoked paprika, a little bit of salt, olive oil, and they are completely finished. And I have my acorn squash and my butternut squash tender and finished. And I'm going to let everything cool to room temperature and then put it into the freezer so that it can be stored while I'm on vacation without going bad. Alright guys, remember, make good healthy choices. Remember to subscribe, like and share my video, and I will see you next time.